So for both round 1 and round 2, the maximum time is 2 minutes. For round 3, the green card will be displayed at 1 minute. It will remain displayed for 60 seconds. We will have the yellow card displayed at 2 minutes. This will be displayed for a further 60 seconds. At 3 minutes, the debater will be force muted, which means the third round, the conclusion round, will have a maximum speaking time of 3 minutes. Now to the motion for today's debate. The motion for today's debate is the right to free speech includes the right to offend. I repeat, the right to free speech includes the right to offend. Our judges have already voted in the first round of voting. We'll now move to flipping the coin so that we can determine the proposition team and the opposition team. Lasya,
I said heads.
Okay, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear
It's
you.
okay.
All right. Heads.
We are going for the motion.
All right. So team A will be for the motion and team B will be against the motion. So team A is the proponent team and team B is the opposition team. Since we have already conducted the voting, first round of voting, it's now time to move into the debate. I request the Zoom master to spotlight the first speaker from the proposition team.
Yes, the right to free speech should include the right to offend. To offend what has been going wrong right before our eyes. To offend and raise our voice against injustice in any form being done to people, which will in turn develop our spirit of critical thinking. Let me start by putting forth some incidents onto the floor. 400 years ago, Copernicus, one man, in his report on the revolution of celestial spheres, said that sun was at the center of the universe, and this offended many of the clergy at that time. Would such a scientific breakthrough be even be possible if a man was silenced just because of being offensive? Until 2018, having a sexual relationship with the same gender person was considered offensive. And it was the offensive struggle of many activists, many LGBTQ persons, which ultimately led to decriminalization of Article 377. And 200 years ago, having women letting live their lives after the death of their husbands was considered offensive. And it was the struggle of Raja Ram Mohan Roy, which was indeed considered offensive at that time, which led to the ultimate abolition of sati. My dear friends, the point I'm trying to make here is offensive nature of human beings has led to the human progress. Our offensive nature has helped us raise our voice against injustice and any form of orthodox beliefs. And so I beg to support the motion. Thank you.
Zoom master, can we please spotlight opponent 1?
Ladies and gentlemen, when the movie called Udta Punjab was brought to the public first, it had hurt the sentiments of a lot of people from Punjab. It has offended the people because the movie depicted Punjab and a few areas of Punjab as drug addicts. Right? Though the filmmakers later won the court case and released the movie to the public with just one cut, the damage was already done because to an eye of a person who has watched the movie, the people of Punjab would be seen as drug addicts and drug peddlers. Right? Punjab was considered to be drug addicts and drug peddlers. The offensiveness of the movie has planted the seed of stereotypic view of the people of Punjab in the entire nation. No doubt, the filmmakers had the right to free speech, which they expressed in the movie. But do you think they had the right to plant that stereotypic seed in the minds of every person of the country against the people of Punjab? Definitely not. Right? So in that sense, not only the movie of Urta Punjab, but there were other movies as well. If you look at the movie called Padmavat, it has offended the people of especially Rajasthan and Jaipur, the Rajput community, which we call it. It had hurt their sentiments. It had offended them. And similarly, the web series called Tandav has offended the beliefs of Muslims, of the beliefs of Hindus, and it caused a lot of violence among the public. So how do you think we can stop it? We can do it by not including the right to offend in the right to free speech. Back to the moderator.
Zoom Master, please spotlight proponent 2.
Good evening, moderator and my fellow dear audience. If liberty means anything at all, it means the right to tell people what they don't want to hear, said George Orwell, a famous poet. The right to express one's opinions without censorship, restraint, or legal penalty is known as in an open forum is the essence of a free society, just like how my fellow proponent Chendu has said, and needs to be safeguarded at all times. One's opinions may be expressed by words of mouth, or in writing, or printings, pictures, or any other mode. This freedom includes a person's right to propagate or publish the views of other people. It allows people to communicate their feelings, ideas, and opinions to others. Rather, it serves a broader purpose as self-fulfillment. It assists in the discovery of truth. It strengthens the capacity of individual to participate in the decision-making process. It provides a mechanism by which it would be possible to establish a reasonable balance between stability and social change. We should aim for a progressive society where offense should be taken as a dialogue of discussion and debate on that to enlighten the people, not as an offense itself. Let's be the humans driven by the logic, but not the emotion. Right? Let's not be emotional, but let's be the logical people. With this, I rest my case. Over to you, moderator.
Women in burqas are bank robbers, said Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister of Britain. Mexicans are rapists, said Donald Trump, the former President of the United States. Do you call this free speech? Well, I call this hate speech. Speech that has a semblance of free speech but is used to spew lies, sow distrust, and sever the united mankind. Why is it that people can say whatever they want to say and get away without facing the repercussions of their deceptive and duplicitous actions? Well, that is what happens when you include the right to offend in the right to free speech. It protects good people, I accept, but it also protects the bad actors, the people who would lie, the people who would scapegoat guiltless individuals, the people who would incite violence for their own reasons. The spirit of free speech was to let people speak their mind without the fear of being incriminated. But the spirit of free speech is being manipulated, mocked, and made fun of by these bad actors. And how do you stop these fear-mongering, war-inciting, and mankind disuniting people from doing what they want to do? How do you stop it? You stop it not by not including right to offend, but by excluding right to offend from the right to free speech. With that being said, I'd like to hand over the stage back to you, moderator.
So, Master, please spotlight proponent 3.
We all live in a world that will empower us to speak our mind, our heart, and gives the freedom to express. If we do not have the freedom to express, that means we do not have the scope to grow. We do not have the scope to explore. We do not have the scope to development. Well, freedom of speech includes right to offend. Offend is a very broad idea and it is perceived by an individual in their own way. Like one of the opponent team members said that there is a thin line difference between offense and hate speech. So we are telling here that an individual has the right to offend while he expresses what he feels. Having said that, there has been a lot of progress and development countries that include right to offend as a part of their right to speech. Let me give you examples that are doing way better than India who have included right to offend. Let us take the examples of United States of America, which has included right to offend in its right to free speech. Not just that, when people have expressed what is the fact going on, and if the government felt it offensive, that means there has been a growth. I have many more examples to quote to begin with LTT movement and the Myanmar movement. How Myanmar has become a democratic nation. I say that right to free speech should include right to offend. That's when we have growth. That's when we have progress, and that's when it is a day for a better tomorrow.
So, Master, please spotlight opponent 3.
Good afternoon, everyone. Beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. And similarly, there is no universal standard for what is offensive and what isn't. But remember, words are very powerful. They can be violent. We always hear, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. But in the digital age, it is easy to express one's opinion, and these opinions can hurt. We have so many cases where people have spit their hate on LGBTQ plus people. One person tweeted, "You're a pig in a wig," to a trans woman in UK. Another person tweeted, "What do you call a fat girl with a rape whistle?" Optimistic. These are considered to be jokes. Well, it's just my opinion. This is the most commonly heard words. If you have an opinion that seeks to the harm of another, one that is racist, homophobic, sexist, transphobic, etc., then your opinion first loses respect, then credibility, and then later you lose your right to share the opinion. Freedom of speech does not mean you have the freedom to offend. These offensive words contribute to the oppression, prejudice, and inequalities aimed towards to those who have less privileges. They instigate harm. We have our examples. Like when Hitler said, "The Jewish race, which is truly responsible for this murderous struggle, shall bear the consequences." Trump and the other Republicans said, "Let's march to the Capitol. We know what had happened." There is a blur between what is offensive and what is not. We as people have to understand, and we can understand that by learning that freedom of speech does not give an opportunity for right to offense.
We will now have a 5-minute break. Zoom Master, please move the 2 teams to the respective breakout rooms. All right, it is now time for our second round, which is interjection. So, Master, I request you to spotlight our proponent 1.
Thank you, moderator. Here I say that to me, The opposition team's argument sounds quite paradoxical, and they themselves quite agree that offense is required. And they themselves have told that there is a thin line of difference between hate speech and offense. Now, let me talk about how offense has helped a nation grow. To begin with, Myanmar. Myanmar has actually been trapped and was completely under violence for a long time. Way back in 1988, when junta has taken control of Myanmar, the democratic government in Myanmar for the first time has failed. 3 veterans of this democratic struggle have come to India in exile and have started to print articles in a critical manner that will help Myanmar grow. Yes, agreed, they were quite offensive, because of which they could get international attention on this issue. Because of their offensive articles, which has questioned the then ruling party, this helped them grow and form a democratic government in less than 5 years of time. Having said that, we are talking about offense, speaking, freedom of speech, but there are a lot of incidents which did not give freedom of speech in the first place. Offensive, way far off. Let me consider the LTT movement. When Tamilians have asked for a separate country in collaboration with Sri Lanka, they were being shot dead. We know what happened to Prabhakaran. Forget about offense. Just asking has brought down to kill them. The second incident which we can talk about, which actually has killed people, is the very recent incident when someone has said that we want a different nation. And there is an incident which has happened on national anthem. Freedom of speech includes freedom to be silent. And if this is being considered as offense, then what do we call? We do not have.
Thank you, proponent 1. Zoom master, please spotlight opponent 1.
I hear an honorable member of the proposition team saying that Myanmar has got its independence and its democracy through publishing articles and everything that are offensive. If you follow the current affairs, you could see that Myanmar is no more a democratic country. It has been taken over by the military of the country, right? So look at where the right to offense has brought the entire country to. Look at the place where the country stands now because of its right to offend in the past. Have a look at that place. And I hear another member say that US has right to offend included in their right to speech. My question is, why, if the right to offend is included in the right to speech, why are there libel laws and why are there defamation cases going on still? Please, you might want to look your facts there. And one of the honorable member said from the proposition team that has quoted Copernicus and Sati. Let me tell you, Copernicus, the theories of Copernicus against the churches in Poland and Rome, they were against the ignorance, and that was not an offense because Copernicus has busted the ignorance of the churches and he didn't offend them. Second, Sati. When you look at Sati properly, it is a superstition, right? So whatever work was done against Sati was against a superstition, and that wasn't an offense, right? And again, if your liberty stops when you take away others' liberty by using your words and actions. Your words and actions have the power to take away others' liberty, and that includes the right to offend. So please consider using your words.
Thank you, opponent 1. Zoom master, can we please have proponent 2 spotlighted?
So one of my friends from the opponent team just now mentioned that Myanmar is no more a democracy. And he also made a remark that what happens when we go offensive against the military of Myanmar. My dear friend, let me remind you, the incident which my friend mentioned was not regarding this time, but it was way back in 1983 when Myanmar was first time the democratic government of Myanmar was first time thrown down by junta. This is the second time the act was considered done by junta. And my dear friend, coming from a country where we got our independence by struggle, making such a remark that nothing will happen if you go offensive against injustice is really depressing. I tell you, even if the junta occupies the democratic government 100 times, the people of Myanmar will be ready to fight and bring back their democratic government. I feel that is the spirit of right to speech, and that is where you get your freedom to express your conscience. And coming back to my case, recently we have seen that an artist who has won the Pulitzer Prize, Megha Rajgopalan, has published a report regarding the atrocities being committed against the Xinjiang Uyghur Muslims in China. So that report was considered offensive by Chinese government, and they literally banned her visa and her entry into China. But she still fought for it and published a fearless report about the situation of Uyghur Muslims there, which were garnered international attention, and now people are able to know the black side of China. Apart from that, Article 19 of Indian Constitution also grants free speech to every Indian citizen. But however, the citizens, right when the citizens wanted to enjoy their free speech, there comes the law of sedition.
Thank you, Proponent 2. Zoom Master, can we please spotlight Opponent 2?
I would like to say our team has brought so many valuable points to the floor today. But I would like to discuss on few points, like when one of the team member has mentioned, it gives an opportunity for dialogue of discussion. But are we considering how it is diverting from the right topic of discussion? When Black Lives Matter movement has erupted, so does All Lives Matter. When the first one focuses on the privilege to live, the later solely focus on the privilege. Now then comes one of the member who says it gives an opportunity for decision making. Where how am I going to make a decision when I don't have a right information? As we know, the words come from a person on his perspective. When the perspective isn't right, then how is the information right? And one of the members said, it gives a scope to grow, explore, and develop. What a proposition mentioned works wonders in the idealistic world. But sadly, in reality, it's not. When at every step, I am reminded how discriminated I am and different I am, I don't think I grow or I have a will to explore. This is what is happening in the digital age, when it is so easy to give opinions on others. I am not talking about how I like or not like salad. I am talking about things that matter in others' lives, that will hurt a person's will to live. We have seen so many instances where one's offensive comment has led a person to suicide. We cannot bring back a person when he dies. We can only make sure that we prevent that from happening. And how can we do that? Only by eliminating right to offense in right to speech. It is our responsibility to learn how to be kind, not to just spit out hate. Thank you.
Thank you, Opponent 2. We'll now have a 5-minute break. Zoom Master, I request you to move both the team members of both the teams to 2 different breakout rooms so that they can prepare their arguments for final conclusion round. Zoom Master, can we please spotlight Proponent 1 for round 3, conclusion round?
My team members has opened the eyes with their proposition statements. Let me help you with the spectacles for a better vision. I do not want to rub my opinion on you all with my wordplay, but I would request you all to think with open-mindedness. All throughout, opposition spoke about hate, but I, being a world citizen, would like to make you understand that offense does good to the society when you are broad-minded, and hate divides us. We are in a society which is ever changing psychologically, logically, and emotionally. Let's be the torch bearers of that change. Let's not be narrow minded and build the ideological walls around us. Let us work for better purpose to take offense as a dialogue of discussion. Because when someone offends you, there is an indelible pain that rooted inside, and he or she has taken an offense as a final weapon. Let us be the beacons of hope and share empathy for them instead of bulldozing them, thinking that they are weak. India is no more a newly independent nation where offending someone may cause another bifurcation. We are stronger than ever. We are more sensible than ever. Swami Vivekananda said in his inaugural speech at Chicago on September 11, 1893, ours is a country that has taught the world both tolerance and universal acceptance. I don't want to give you a message, but I request all of you to think in the lines of what Rabindranath Tagore wrote in his writing, Gitanjali, where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where words come out from the depth of truth, where the mind is led forward by thee into ever widening thought and action, into that heaven of freedom. Awake. This is what the great Rabindranath Tagore has said in his great writing, Gitanjali. The right to free speech should include the right to offend. With this, I rest my case. Over to you, moderator. Thank you.
Thank you, proponent one. Zoo Master, can you please spotlight opponent one?
Sainath, Lasya, Chandu, you have done a shoddy job. A shoddy job. Well, did I offend you? That is not what I wanted to do. Because if you want to make your point, there's no need for you to offend. I could have said the same thing the other way. Lasya, Sainath, Chandu, you guys are really great guys. You guys could have done a better job. So that's the first thing. You do not have to offend to make your point. Second thing, if right to offend is so right, why are there? If right to offend is so right, why are there libel laws in place? It's because the government, the universe, the world, the global citizen that we are talking about says that there need to be libel laws in place to stop you from offending people. Point 3, the proposition team talked about how all developed countries have right to offend. Is it because of right to offend that they have become developed countries? There's no cause effect relationship. You cannot just say what comes to your mind. I'm sorry, I did not mean to offend you. Point number 4, we're talking about being broad-minded. We're talking about being empathetic. Well, all of these are true. If you are empathetic, you wouldn't actually hurt someone. And if you are thinking of being broad-minded, well, we are living in a realistic world and not an idealistic world. And I'm sorry for being a realist. Point number 6, free speech can be used when everything is wrong and when injustice is happening, but that is not how it is being used in the real world. It is being used to sway the opinions of the audience for whatever they think is right, and that is wrong. And the seventh point that I'd like to address here is Rabindranath Tagore wanted to create heaven on earth, but when you bring the right to offend into right to free speech, what you risk doing is bringing chaos, bringing hell to earth. Are you willing to take that risk? Are you willing to create a world where your speech, your offense can harm someone else? I am not. I do not want my right to at least save people. I do not want it to harm people. That brings me to my 8th point. We need to stop the right to offend from stereotyping people, from stopping them spread hate. That is why we unequivocally and absolutely say that we do not and cannot risk including, incorporating, and imbibing this concept of right to offend in the right to free speech. Have I offended anyone? I'm sorry, that is not what I intended to say. With that being said, over to you, moderator.
Thank you, opponent 3. With that, we have come to an end of the debate. We will now have the Q&A session by the audience. So we will have a maximum of 2 questions that the audience members can shoot to either of the teams. I request you to use the reaction symbols to raise your hand if you choose to ask a question.
Okay, I have a question for both the teams.
You can choose.
One question?
Yes.
Okay, then I have a question for the opposition team.
Yes.
So the opposition team in their initial arguments profoundly explained why there is no difference between hate and offense. The line between both of these are pretty blurred. So I understand that, and that was a very intellectual point to add in the debate.
Please get to the question.
In the conclusion, I felt like they did contradict themselves by saying that there is a difference between offense and hate. So when Charan did explain it, he did say, when he did give an example of how the proponents could be offended, but they did not need to be offended. You could have said it in a better way.
Can we have a question instead of?
There seems to be a difference between. So are you contradicting yourself? That is my question.
I see Lahari raising her hand. Lahari.
That's actually a wonderful question, Judge Mahesh. So here is what we can say. So we live in a world where we have idealistic thoughts, but the reality is entirely different. And we didn't grow up understanding what is the difference between what is right and what is wrong. How many of us have said something offensive to our fat friends? Even now I am saying our fat friends, which is now considered as a body shaming thing. So there is always a lesson for learning. And that is what our team member Charan has been mentioning. When I said there is a blur between hate and offensive speeches, and when what Charan has used is exactly what we were trying to say, that when we are talking as a person, in my perspective, I am doing the right thing until and unless someone corrects me. And this correction may or may not always have the right intention and right way, because yesterday I was seeing a serial killer series where the guy was expressing that I want to kill someone, and his friend said, yes, you go ahead and do it, even I am interested in killing someone. So that is how blur the whole situation is. No one knows what is right from wrong, and as an individual we cannot decide when we are in that particular situation. So when we have a particular rule added, a right given to a person, I as an individual, I think it is what I have to do and I will do. So if I don't have that right, then I'll double think and I will stop myself from doing it. So that is where we mentioned when we say hate and offensive are parallel, and there is a very little blur to understand what is the difference. And as an individual, I myself doesn't know it. And I think the kids also doesn't know that. That is what the problem is with the real current generation. So I hope I have answered a little.
Thank you, Lahari. I see we have Rahil to the next question.
Am I clearly audible? Am I audible?
Yes. Yes, you are. To which team do you have the question?
I want to ask the proponent a question.
Go ahead.
So my question is to counter one of the points. The proponent team, I think it's Chandra who mentioned that Indian freedom, was one of the places where offense was used. Offense was used as a tool.
To ask a question.
Okay, so offense was used, but my point is that Indian freedom was a non-violent struggle of freedom. So how do you justify that offense was at all used? Even if it was used, it was only minimal. So I just want to ask, how do you justify if Indian freedom was offensive in the first place when it was a non-violent movement?
Thank you, Judge Rahil. I see proponent to Chandrasekhar wants to answer. Is that right? Please go ahead.
Judge Rahil. So what I meant to say at that point of time, I didn't quote Indian freedom was actually obtained by offensive struggle. I said that Myanmar got their freedom by struggling and by being offensive against the government, and by coming from a government in which we have gone through a lot of freedom struggle. I consider it as offensive because if you look at the sedition law, which was formed long back in 1885, the year which was formed by the British Council, in that law, it was clearly written that it is offensive if you do any action against the government. And at that point of time, the government sitting in India was British. So Gandhiji, I have nowhere mentioned that the struggle was violent. Non-violent struggle can be considered as offensive by the British. And it was considered as offensive by the British because they formed a law which was in accordance with their belief. So it is in accordance with the law, the sedition law, which was formed by the British in the year 1885. And they considered it offensive even to organize a rally, even to organize a Dandi March, even to gather at the Baisakhi fair. So that's what I meant. Thank you. I believe I had put some light and answered your question.
All right. I think that ends the number of questions that we have from the audience. I'm sharing the link for the second round of voting, judges voting to determine the results for this debate. Judges, please note your chat boxes. So here are the results for our debate today. This is before the debate, and this is after the debate, which means we have a swing in the vote, and our winners for the day is team opponents. Congratulations. With that, we've officially come to the end of today's debate. Very well done, debaters. I thank the audience also for staying to the very end and actively participating through and through, and also staying on mute when the debaters were actually debating. This is a good chance for you to maybe come off your mic and share your thoughts on how the debate went. Anyone, if you want to, again, raise your hands, or Zoom Master, actually, I think we can unmute the audience now.
Yeah, they can unmute them.
Okay, you can unmute. You spend too much time listening to the others, so now is a good chance for you to voice your thoughts. Do any of the judges want to? Okay, Rahil, I see you want to share. Go
Yes,
ahead.
sure. Thank you. I believe that this debate from both the sides started off pretty well. They were being a little diplomatic, but that was fine. I think for the context building, that was really fine. However, in the round two, a lot of time was consumed in stating things from the past and setting up a lot of context. I believe that could have been ignored. But one of the debaters who did not do actually grab a lot of attention. I feel it felt like Charan is very experienced with debating in the first place. Even when it came to conclusion, he tried to be more strong with his words instead of trying to end on a mellow down. A lot of people do it usually that in the conclusion they want to be a little neutral on sides, but Charan went a little strong in the conclusion, and that is where it grabbed a lot of my attention. Yeah, that's how I felt the debate.
Thanks, Rahil. Chakravarti, did you have something to say?
Yeah.
Please do.
Yeah, I felt both the teams were equally good kind of thing, but the only advantage the opponents have was they know what the proponents has already spoken. So the chances of bettering off was actually higher. Take for example, proponent 3 used the Vivekananda example and opponent 3 also used it. So the target was already set, and what run rate you can actually execute kind of. So that way opponents actually had slightest advantage of this point, but I don't see any reason. Like proponents also have done very good in this point of view. Only that thing, I think they were a bit better off, and I know Charan very well. He will actually do good at this point of time. So I think that was a wise call to put him at the end kind of.
Thank you, Chakravarti, for your thoughts.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. Meanwhile, since everyone else is still remaining calm, we have other ways to find your thoughts and your answers. We have a feedback link that's going to be in the chat window the next 10 seconds. Please take some time and share your thoughts. This will be great to further improve the debates and the events coming weeks. Hello, everyone. In spite of having our debaters move to the breakout, I see we have a good participation of 25 people. Good evening, and thank you for making it to our debate today. If you're attending the Hyderabad Debater Community's debates for the first time, why don't you go unmute yourself and say hi to us? And well, how did you hear about this particular community?
Hello, hey Sharon.
Hey.
Shobit here. I'm
Shobit.
attending this meeting for the first time. So I just wanted to experience how is it like.
How is it going so far?
Yeah, pretty intense.
Pretty intense. Okay, that means this is a good debate. Thanks for coming, Shobit.
Thank you.
Hello, Chakravarti. I see you
Yeah,
on
the
camera.
same goes with me. Just like Shobit just told me, it was very good debate. It was
Okay.
intense overall.
Hopefully there's more coming. How did you hear about HTC, Chakravarti?
I'm a friend of Charan.
All right. I hope I can force you to come in. So, thank you so much for making it. I'm so glad you.
Thank you.
Akib, I saw you
Hey,
come on.
hi. Yeah, good evening, everyone. So
Hey, Akib.
today only I got to know about this through Instagram.
Oh,
So
wonderful.
I asked for Zoom credentials and I've joined. This is more like I'm able to recall my college memories, wherein we used to have debates. So thanks for organizing.
Who else do we have who's joining in for the first time? I see Manasa. Manasa, are you here?
Hi, Sharon.
Hey, Manasa. How are you?
Good.
Good.
How are you?
I'm good too. Thanks for asking. How did you hear about the meeting today?
I receive continuous updates from Lasya every week.
Oh, all right. So last year's convincing you to come. I'm glad she succeeded. How's the debate so far?
Very interesting. So I wanted to attend this meeting for a long time, but today Sai Sudan convinced me to join.
All right.
The debate is very interesting. Like once I hear the proposition argument, I feel like yes, it's correct, and then I hear opposition argument, and then I'll be like, yeah, this is also correct. They're pulling my mind in all possible directions. It's very interesting.
It is. I hope to see you more, Manasa. Thank you for coming.
Yes. Thank you.